Good evening, sir. Hemakshi and Sanjana.
Hi, good evening.
Yeah.
Good
Hi,
evening.
everyone. We're here with a talk that's most directly from our heart. Sanjana and I will be hosting Hemakshi and Sir. So the two of us share passion on politics and would love to see more women in the space. We are also interested to deep dive into the topic and know why we don't see many women in the political spaces. So, with that interest, we too want to dig a little more and understand from Sir's vast experience in philosophical and moral dimension of contemporary social and political issues, and Hemakshi's realistic journey in the field where she's training passionate youngsters to get into politics and try experiment a variety of methods, political methods. So what connects all of us is the passion to see some change and deliver some results in political spaces. So we hope you enjoy the conversation, and please do keep posting questions. We will take them once we are done with a fundamental conversation. So, Sanjana,
Yeah, Swati.
go on.
Yeah. So it's a unique fact that men's domination over women has been seen as a part of the present culture. And scientifically, or a key term used to represent this is patriarchy. The aspect of patriarchy is monopolization of power, of positions of power by men. It is said that it's true that its reproduction can only be done by women. But this aspect, which is a difference between men and women, has been made an aspect of inferiority because women have been given only childcare compatible works and they have been socialized primarily to become mothers. We see this even in simple societies that women were never chiefs, neither in agrarian or feudal societies, they were not landlords or rulers. Even in the modern society, we have very few percentage of women leaders. Only with democracy did we have a lot of opportunities opening up for women. So in this session, we ask few fundamental questions. Why do we not have more women in politics? And the second is, should we have more women? And can we have more women? And lastly, if we can have more women in politics, how can we bring a change for this? Now, Swati here will give us few statistics of the percentage of women leaders that we have in today's society. Over to you, Swati.
Thank you, Sanjana. So currently, Indian Parliament barely has 14% of women. So on out of the total share of MPs, only 14% are women. This stands in stark contrast with the actual contribution that women have been doing on ground. If you look at every problem that politics is trying to tackle, be it economic, where self-help groups have already shown how collective efforts can solve fundamental economic problems, or be it in environment, where women have protested through CHIPCO or the contemporary climate change protests that we need change, or in critical political issues where they have been demanding for representation and fighting against domestic violence. Women have mobilized, women have demonstrated that they can tackle these issues through the core skills they already have, like Sanjana pointed out: socialization, collaboration, readiness to accommodate diversity, being vocal, fighting for something that means so much to them. They have demonstrated all the qualities that political leaders need. So, the question is no more about women in politics. The question should be politics needs women, and why isn't politics accommodating them? Sir, off to you. We would love to listen to you.
I think Hemanshi can give her experience.
Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Swati and Sanjana, for having me. It's just, I've heard about Sir a lot, so I'm really excited to discuss this. I think it's a very vast topic, and I I don't know, because I'm not contested, I don't know if I am the right person, but luckily, as we set up Indian School of Democracy, which is an organization that nurtures young people who want to get into politics, we've been lucky to speak to a few hundred people one-on-one at multiple levels, at a panchayat, councillor, state, and a national level. And as an organization really committed to inclusion and equity, women, of course, have been a very big part of that research work and following journeys of people that we've been doing. I think, like Swati said, the question is not, do they need to be in politics or not? Like, why are they not in politics? And I think we can divide it into 4 different categories. The first category, I would say, is the systemic category, reasons which fall under the systemic category, systemic barriers. And I'll elaborate a little bit on that in a bit. The second is, of course, like Sanjana said, the socio-cultural aspects, patriarchy being one of those, of course. The third is the economic structures and economic reasons. Of course, it's part of the larger system, but because it plays such a crucial role, I'm saying it's a separate category of its own. And the fourth is the technical know-how, which actually is true for men, women, both, or people of all gender, actually. But it's, again, a very important factor, which kind of adds on to the 3 other factors. Even if we had all 3 sorted, the technical is not sorted yet. So speaking a little bit about each. So if I was to speak about the systemic factors which prohibit women from getting into politics, the first one is the way our political parties are structured. They don't have reservation. They're not at a local level. They're supposed to, we have reservations anywhere between 30 to 50%, except union territories, some union territories. But political parties don't really have in their parties a reservation, and the design of the party structure is such that it doesn't, beyond having a women's wing, political parties don't do anything. And because our democracy is based on political parties, this does impact women's entry in politics. The second systemic factor I would definitely say is nepotism in Indian politics. Again, this affects both men and women, but the intersectionality. And I really hope we get to talk about intersectionality and how that comes in the way of women being in politics, because it's not just about 1 or 2 factors. It's about so many different factors compounding together to make women less likely to enter politics in some ways. And the other factors also that we don't have reservation. I know we are going to speak about women's reservation bill, but our constitution currently doesn't have women's reservation bill at a state and a national level, which really, really matters. I think speaking of the social cultural factors, these are some things which are much more intuitive and we see a lot more, which is patriarchy, which also implies that gender roles are very set in our society. Women are expected to take care of family, whether it's the elders. Actually, one study said that women in India do 577% more household work than men. And this was pre-COVID. I think COVID, we've read reports about how that has only increased. And that's not a small number. So if a woman is doing 577% more amount of work and undocumented or not formal work, what is the likelihood of her having the time to actually get into politics? So the gender roles, I would say, form a big socio-cultural factor. And the other factor, third factor, is obviously how women are perceived. What is the perception of women? So UN did a study recently where it said, not in India, around the world, 90% of people have gender bias, which obviously includes women. Women are also biased against women. So that, of course, public perception of women, of people about women, whether or not they're eligible to be public leaders, so to say, is also a factor which comes into play. I think the third category I spoke about is the economic category. Women are not in the workforce. even when they don't necessarily have control on the finances. And given how electoral politics is structured right now, it's very unlikely that you can win and contest an election, or you'll even get a ticket. You'll be considered to contest an election without money. So if I don't control the purse, what's the likelihood of me actually saying that I want to contest or consider me? And the fourth category is technical know-how, which is a lot of women who probably have some of the three things working for them. They don't know how to get into politics. What are the pathways that they need to, what pathways they have to enter politics? What is the difference between a local election versus a state election? How do I campaign? What is my duty? What are my rights? I think there's definitely a knowledge gap there. So I would say, yeah, these are the four broad categories I see which come in the way of women getting into politics. I took a lot of time, so I'll pause now.
No. Thank you. So can I talk?
Sure, please.
Okay, maybe, see, basically you are saying that there is a political system and men are managing it, and how should more women be in managing the political system? What prevents them from managing the political system? Taking part more women leaders, isn't it? Maybe what you are saying is right, but I have different set of issues, so I would like to talk about them. So first thing is that we really don't understand, we don't really talk about what is to be a woman. We normally think whoever are biologically woman as woman and men like that, without seeing what may be woman's nature. And when men created a political system, what kind of political system they created? And suppose there are more women in political system, what are they supposed to be doing? For example, after so-called communist revolution, some workers become leaders, and they manage the system the same way the old people managed. So you won't call it workers ruling the world. So when women become leaders, what are they supposed to do? See, I would like to give few proposals, and I want you to examine. Number one, basically men created a political system that is a reflection of their own nature. So that system requires men. Now woman, without seeing this entire game of what kind of political system is being created, she just wants to say, whatever you are doing, I can also do. That is an unfair proposal to women in the first place, because political system needs to be changed in such a way that women naturally take part. And when it reflects their nature, I think you create a better political system. So this raises the question, what do I think are basic differences between man and woman, or what is the speciality that woman has? There may be many differences, but I just want to focus on two things. One is caring and kindness. Many studies show that women are more caring, more kind, because that's how biologically tuned to taking care of the children. And second thing is that women have holistic solutions. They think of home as well as outside. They don't like to run away. So I believe these are the two things that should be the basis of a better political system. Caring oriented, non-aggressive, accommodative, and not power oriented, expansionist. And system is such that home and outside work are managed. It means it is harmonious. Now, for a woman to play a man's role, she has to suffer a lot. She is always being compared with man. She has to be like man, do many things. And the system is favorable to man. So, woman should bring her nature to the political system and transform the political system, and accordingly transform the economic system also. So I would say that is the thing that women should do, not retain the system as it is and retain the role of the leader as it is and somehow occupy the positions of the leaders, representatives. So I would say it is feminization of political system as well as economic system, which become more caring and holistic, and women naturally play a role, and they do not have to be like men. They should not be like men to become leaders in the system, and they don't have to be leaders at all in the first place if they want to continue the same system. Because when you want to be a leader, you should have a plan of what you want to do. So biggest confusion here is that they have created a system, they said these people are eligible, and then asking the woman, can you be like this? That is an unfair question. Woman is not asking man, can you be like me? Can you take care of home? Can you take care of the children? Can you be like me, caring? But man's activities are held as reference and woman is asked to compete. But whatever she does, it will be an unequal race. So political economic systems have to be rearranged, and that calls for reorganizing and rearranging home also, gender roles. So, and usually in the debate, it is all about how woman also can be like a man. But I think the better thing is how man should be like woman, more like woman. So woman need not run to win the race against man. That is not the thing. She should not take part in the race itself. She should say, your running is not right, you have not created a good system, and I will create a different system. And to create that different system, I am not planning to be like you. And don't compare me on the basis of your strengths and your talents. It is not that they have achieved so much that the women should prove themselves. What did they achieve? So why should women be leaders to continue the same thing?
Maybe to change, we could say, Hemakshi, because I think we have met several women leaders who brought the dimensions that Sir just mentioned. Care. I remember one conversation with Vandana Chavan we had.
Plus holism.
Yeah, sorry.
Horse is highly fragmented. If you are good outside, house is ruined. And this has become more a problem to women because man is not expected to take care of home. So he pursues his hobbies with more ambition. And when woman is trying to be like man, she suffers. So I'm saying two things, care and then holistic and harmonious. We have created a highly imbalanced society. To be successful at one place, you have to fail at other place. Why is it so? Because woman was doing one role and man was doing something else. And man is not trying to be woman, whereas woman is trying to be man. So there is a conflict here. So that is why I have taken two variables. Caring is one and harmonious. So political and economic systems should move in these two directions. They should take these two as important variables. Please continue.
Sir, I think I agree with some of what you said, and I do respectfully disagree with some things that you said. So I'll start with what I agree with. I think, like you said, research has shown that when women are in decision-making positions in politics, a few things come out. They are more holistic. The decisions they take are more holistic. Actually, it says that the consensus-building process is much more when women are leading it. The expenditure and focus on social policies. Actually, this was research done specifically in India. Women leaders, women politicians, elected politicians end up spending more on social policies, which positively impact all genders, the entire society, as opposed to men. Men tend to spend things which are non-social in nature in that way. The policy priorities that women focus on are of more importance, and the issue specialization is much more. This was done in the US, so we can see how much of it is applicable in India. So I agree with you, sir. There is a way women lead if they are allowed to lead in a way. The other thing I agree with you, sir, is that the systems are highly masculine. One of the reasons is because masculine energy has been on the rise in the world, and these systems traditionally, historically, have been created by men, and hence they are created keeping men in mind. I think the most recent example was someone was discussing abortion laws in the US without a single woman on the table. I don't think any man in the room knew what abortion is like, what the experience is like, but no woman was considered, was even on the table. So I agree with you that systems are designed in a masculine way, and that prevents people with feminine traits to be in the system. It's like asking an elephant to live in the house made for a cat, or vice versa. But say what I disagree with you is that women have feminine traits and men have masculine traits. I think I very strongly believe that all of us have human traits. And I'll say why I think it's important to make that distinction. The idea of yin and yang, the idea of Shiv Shakti, and I'm sure every philosophy has that sense of balance in each. By saying that caring is a woman's trait, compassion is a woman's trait, we are doing two things. We are forcing all women to be compassionate, and we are actually taking away that quality from men. We stop expecting that from men, which is not okay. Ideally, we should seek a balance from everyone. And I think this is a post or third or fourth wave feminism conversation in some ways, that some traits are attributed to feminine. Yes, they're exhibited more in the current construct of society by women probably, but I would like to see a world where, yes, there are feminine traits and there are masculine traits, but they're exhibited by all genders. And we create systems which has place and harmony, like you said, for all these traits. So that's one point. Otherwise, we just further cement the buckets that the society has created about what a gender should be like. And that's something that definitely makes me a little uncomfortable, because it's not going to create the reform that we need. Because I know as a person, I'm not the most compassionate. I'm definitely woman. I'm ambitious by nature. And I don't want yes, that's probably a masculine trait in me, but that's not imposed in me because of a man. That doesn't make me less of a woman. So that's the distinction from personal experience that I think reflection I've come to not like this labeling and boxing of gender roles or gender characteristics.
So can I respond?
Sure, sir, please.
That is true. Man-woman differences are a matter of degree because we're all humans. But then that is less important to the discussion because the values that we are seeing is what not just you can't assume from a woman. It is both men and women should have. It is not that women already have and men should have them now. It is not like that. These are the values if women don't have and they should have. And men have, they should retain. And men don't have, they should get them. So far, in the socialization process, certain things are emphasized in women, certain things are emphasized in man. And what was emphasized in man were glorified. So higher values attributed to women are being taken as a tool of deception. For example, compassion is becoming a negative word. So men don't have to be compassionate, only women. Compassion is a higher value. Care is a higher value. Balance is a higher value. So if women don't have, they should have. These are the values towards which we should all move. If these values have been historically successfully inculcated in women, then we should try the same thing in men.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah.
It can't be like, okay, we will be compassionate, you are deceiving us, whereas you will be different. No. These are the higher values that we should try. Of course, there are differences, there are socialization differences. But what do we want is an issue. Both men and women should move towards balanced and compassionate life. Whereas normal movement is race in the opposite direction. Because somebody is already running faster.
Yeah.
So his values are false. So women are trying to catch up. Just not needed. Just not needed. We should move towards compassionate, inclusive values. And which means it is in the light of these things, we should ask economic questions and political questions. For example, if all of us have to work at home and do the work, look at how offices will be changed. Will there be so much focus on growth, GDP? It will be different. And will there be so much budget on defense? It will be more on health, education, like she said, women's priorities are different. So it shouldn't be like they are women's priorities. It should be like society's priorities. That is to say, we are critiquing the priorities that are set for the present day systems, which are largely influenced by man's values. So, woman saying that I will do the job better doesn't make sense. Woman should say, we should change the system. We should move in a different direction. So let us all move. So it means women should question the systems, should question the values that are being glorified. Not like, I can also be like you. It is not like that. In fact, see, for example, textbooks talk about equality, but equality in what? Equality can be in a bad value, equality can be in a good value. People want to achieve, but achieve what? So are we examining the ends? So men may have run faster, may have traveled so far, but they didn't create a system that is worthy of emulation by women.
100% agree. Yeah.
So let women propose, because they are saner between the two sexes. I believe they are saner. Let women propose. Let the values be different. Let the direction of the systems be different. But of course, all differences are a matter of degree. There is no doubt about it. Degree. There are biological differences, but because of also gender-based division of labor, certain differences are exaggerated. So we have to discuss in terms of towards what values we should move. I believe towards the values which have been traditionally glorified for women. It is in this direction men should move, and that will bring a different home, and that should change political and economic systems. Which means women should have a purpose to enter politics. It is not that I will also be like you. It's not worth being like them. They are not worthy of emulation. You don't have to enter them to behave like them. Just not needed at all. But look at ordinarily, what is the comparison? She will be compared with one male. Yes. As a police officer, he could beat so many people. She could beat. Okay. He could kill. So she is as good as man. But why should it be like that? So the debate on equality itself is unfairly placed. So I think this is a game that women should understand, not envy man, and then should have a larger purpose for her political role. After all, politics is to change the economic system, change the social system, not somehow to become a leader. How is she a woman? She may have been a woman as a person, but how is she a woman as a policy maker? So it just doesn't matter if she's a woman or not. So how does it matter? So what kind of political system did she create? So we should look in terms of values towards which society is moving. For example, a Dalit leader becomes a chief minister and continues the same old policies, maybe going for some statues of Dalit leaders. So should Dalits be proud that their woman or their man is the leader? No. If a Dalit leader is not doing anything about the caste system, then there is no point for the Dalit leader to become chief minister. What is the point then? If the Dalit leader says that upper caste people have very big birthday parties and I should also have like them, then why should Dalit leader be elected to be a chief minister? Isn't it? So for a Dalit to target to be chief minister, he should change the social system. Power is only the mechanism to change the society. So it is not representation, it is about what we are doing with the representation. In fact, male values are dominating the society so much. If anybody talks about compassion or forgiveness, then it is seen as, see, look, it's all to subordinate woman. It is a grand scheme to subordinate.
Actually, it's shown
Because
as a
our value
point.
system changed. Our value system changed. So our foreign policy should be different. Economic system should be different. I'm only giving two criteria. Care. Definitely, women on the whole are more caring. And number two, holistic. holistic. Just you can see woman's contribution to home and man's contribution. It's holistic. It is in this direction. Both should move. And if holism is taken as a criteria, so much of office work can simply not survive. So many activities will not survive. So much of meaningless will be eliminated.
I have a
So the like Dalit leader has to be a leader to do something about the caste system, to reduce inequalities, or not simply reduce but transform the system. So women should have such mission. Definitely it's not men, the system that men created is not really worthy of emulation. Neither their behavior is worthy of emulation nor the system is worthy of continuation. And if there are any doubts given the climate change and things like that, it is very clear that we have come to the edge. Something has gone deeply wrong. Please.
Sir, I have a question.
Please.
Sir, you compared women's question with Dalit question, but then
Yes.
didn't Ambedkar realize that changing caste system is impossible, and so he introduced reservation in the present system so that they can, a scheduled caste can do something for themselves?
That's true.
Then
That
how
is why-
can there can be an end to patriarchy so soon? Is it not very burdensome on women to ask them to not only enter politics but create a different political system together?
If I may just add to the question that's
Okay.
asked, because it's related. It's almost like the Gandhi, Ambedkar, they differed on this. Ambedkar says constitutional change is required for societal change because we can't just wait for society to change on its own. And he said that in context of caste, like Sanjana said, whereas Gandhi said political change will happen after social change. So in this case, patriarchy will go and then women will not then, it wasn't incremental, but society will take care of patriarchy, and as a result of which more women will be in politics. Whereas an Ambedkar would say that constitutionally we need to make sure there's reservation, give them the safeguards required so that the society changes. So I was also referring to the same dilemma about bottom-up change versus top-down change, and what ideally both, but how do we navigate that in context of
Okay. Two issues.
Even received
One is,
audience. Sorry.
please.
Even
Can I-
one viewer asked the same question. Like, what could be a possible course of this approach? Like, how do you see this happening in real time? So, some course.
Okay, first of all, let us ask this question. Number one, woman representation. More women in politics. Whatever I said is not against having more women in politics. That will bring change. We are only adding purpose to their participation. So these are not two contradictory goals. Instead of simply, in fact, the representation itself will alter the political system. A Dalit chief minister, just the fact that he is a Dalit will make so much difference. But he should have a higher goal. It is like that. So something like reservations will help. But we should think, what is it that we are supposed to do after becoming representatives? So these two are included. The second thing is talking about the purpose. The first thing is about the means. It is like that. And more importantly, if you have the clarity about the end, then you can mobilize and you can include, you can cause a bigger debate. For example, an upper caste leader bringing a caste-related reform is as good. If caste is an issue, men can bring about woman-related reforms. It is like that. So these two are interrelated. and they're not contradictory, and their presence enhances the system. But it will enhance, feminize the system, but when they know the purpose, not simply somehow becoming the leaders, it's not somehow becoming representatives. So these two are related. That's how I see it. So I didn't say anything in opposition to what you said before. I'm only adding it higher purpose to it. It's like that.
Actually, quite
So in a
yeah.
real time, the question is about real time. I think in a real time, we should, when we are comparing men versus women, when we are comparing the goals of a system, we should examine on what values we are comparing. I notice we usually compare anything on man's values. Man is never compared on the basis of what woman is doing and what woman can do. Woman is always compared on the basis of what man is doing and what man can do. Men are not debating, we can do like them. No, it's women who are debating, we can be like them. I'm not saying they shouldn't occupy leaders' positions of importance. But usually, reference is always in terms of male values. So women should not fall. Women should see what are the values that these people have created, what kind of systems they have created, and should develop critical approach. And also, to the political system itself, we are thinking of larger goals. It is not simply about men and women. Towards which direction we should move is the issue. Man should move, woman should move. Because we have seen that we are all humans and we have all the predispositions. We cannot say all women are caring and men are aggressive. It's just not at all like that. Not all like that. So we are giving a larger goals and a framework for comparison. For example, certain defense positions, okay, mostly male values. So what values are being glorified is an issue. That is why there may be many man-woman differences. I wanted to choose only these two, because based on these two, there is so much to reform the system. Otherwise, if we don't have the holistic picture, what happens is that woman tries to become man and man doesn't stay being man. He wants to be Superman. So it is in this different direction. People are competing. If woman is earning, man wants to earn more than the woman. So what are they getting into? So it is a race in the wrong direction. Because men are not going to stay where they are. They are going to be super males. So we should see this is not the right direction. So let us think, let us reflect, and let us see in which direction we should compete. In which direction we should move. There should be clarity. Remember, equality assumes direction. You want one person to be like the other, but whom do you want to be like the other? So what is the desirable direction is what we should be clear about before we talk about equality. Isn't it? All can be equal in poverty, but we don't think that is the right direction. So in which direction we want to move? If the direction is wrong, equality will create worse society. So women need not join men's debate. That is rule number one. They should define their terms of participation. This is what we want. And if you are going to create that society, thank you. You rule the world. We have no objection. It should be like that.
Sir, actually, there's this frequently asked question on this argument. Why should be the burden of change be on women? Why not she just be herself? Because we have, like Hemakshi pointed out, we have often seen men who have been very compassionate in their policies. So, like when it comes to women in politics, why this question of purpose? Why this question of going the extra mile? Of course, we know that's not around the world. We haven't been able to address even some fundamental problems. But why is this question of doing something extra always given to women? We never asked this question to men.
They had power and they spoiled it.
Of course.
They have created a system which is unfair. Now some new people want to come to power. We are asking, what should they do? The new people shouldn't say, we will just do what you are doing. That's what purpose. It is not an extra mile. They had power. They created a system. And some new people want to come. And they should create a new system.
Hemakshi, go on.
I was going to say, I think there is a lot of talk about the emotional labor, and I think the burden of change need not be on the oppressed always. It applies to any social change. And I think this was said once Lalu Yadav became the chief minister or Mayawati became the chief minister, that now that we have a chief minister from a backward class, like they will reform caste, which sir you also mentioned, and I really think that should be the direction society should go in, that we should go to higher values, that we should think of annihilation of caste and getting rid of caste and all of those things, because that has caused deep-rooted oppression towards people. But sir, I think like Swati very rightly said, I do think men can be allies in this, and we've had examples of that. George Fernandez is known for getting women in politics. I've spoken to some army folks, and they did say I think he is one of the most respectable defense ministers we've had. He was not like the regular defense ministers because he did bring in some other traits. And I think because the nature of politics is such, I'm sure there are decisions he took during his time which we can argue about right now. Similarly, Kanshiram was behind getting Mayawati in power. In current time also, we have some men who really help women get into these positions as one, and my guess is that they also exhibit or rule or exercise their power in a different way, which includes these feminine qualities or includes the higher values that you're speaking about. So it would be nice to share the burden of reaching this higher direction that you rightly said we all as a society should strive towards. But I do think in this, the burden should be equally split between...
But I'm saying... by saying that these are closer to women, I am saying that it is man who should change more and not woman.
So can you, it's not very clear.
No, you are saying burden of change. Who should carry the burden? It is man who should change more now. Woman, what we are saying are closer to what are intrinsic to woman. She doesn't have to change.
No, so changing the system. I think women, I don't think any of us said that you said women.
The system, So let us talk. Let us look at two things. First of all, about human nature. We are saying what woman has now. Right? I'm not saying all women. We're just putting in terms of types. So men are compassionate, women need not be compassionate. We just think in terms of type. In terms of types, it is these values that women have intrinsically. So in terms of nature, it is not she who has to change much. In fact, if you accept present values, it is woman who will have to change more. So that is one. And number two is that it is man who should change. So I am saying it is man's values which are future. And second, in terms of systemic change, the people who want to come, it is they have to come to change the system. It is the new chief minister who has to change, not the old one. So the old one did it in a particular way. So the change comes with the people, with the change in the power structure. So we are saying this is the purpose of change.
But sir, the agency...
It's not like a burden of change. It is the purpose of woman in which direction the system should move.
But sir, doesn't the agency lie with people who are currently in power? In this case, let's speak
of course. That is true. There is no doubt. There is no doubt. That is why we are first changing the goals. First change the goals. Change the values. Then things will look differently. By what values we should go by? What are you glorifying now? Is glorification of power so important? Is glorification of this production, is it so important? So by what values we should live? Like that. No, you tell me then what else is the other way?
Sir, there is other way, sir. If we look at women like Alexandria Ocasio in New York, she's been aggressively speaking about Green New Deal from the moment she's there. She's been speaking about inclusion, including Afro-Americans, Asians and Latinos into the policy. And the way we look at, the way Jacinda Ardern has been handling COVID crisis. And we had a session with Vandana Chavan where she mentioned how she changed the length of the broom just to accommodate the needs of sweeper women. So change is happening, and change is happening for women who are in positions of power.
That's true.
So
That's true.
they might be going into the positions of power with the same old pathways, but they are redefining power in their own ways. So rather than waiting for a change to happen, setting your ideals and trying to fight it your own way, of course that's the moral high ground. I totally agree. It's easier also, less conflict ridden if we fight in our own way. I totally agree. But given the system we are in, I don't think it readily accommodates women, particularly because we are so judgmental towards women. So compassion is considered to be a weaker trait, and the moment a woman goes and speaks about having a compassionate defense policy, let's say on the way we are handling Kashmir, if we say that we need to be much more compassionate towards minors and youth who have been suffering due to pellet guns, I don't think that woman even has a chance to be on a peace panel, because UN studies have proved that there are only 13% women on peace agreements, and women is
on that policy. Even a man can't speak. So that is too sensitive.
Of course, I agree. But for change to happen, it has to start from, of course, bottom up. But then women reaching positions of power have demonstrated that they could look at things the other way.
Of course.
Like
representation should be increased. There is no doubt about it.
It's not just representation, sir. I think the way they even go into positions of power. I'm saying some could opt for a pathway which is conflict ridden, but then they have laid paths of change for us. The feminist movement in 60s and 70s, they have entirely given up on their family lives. They faced abuse like nothing. We can't even imagine that was the extent of abuse they faced. But now they have laid pathways for women like us to just come out and speak our minds and hearts. So So what do you say about that? Some people have sacrificed or taken those bigger steps in life to make pathways for others simpler. So,
I mean, what has been done is good. There is no doubt. But it is time to raise even more bigger questions. It's like that. And when women become leaders, they do bring changes. It's very natural. It's very natural. But now we are saying more explicitly, this should be the goal, and more being critic of what has happened, and linking it to the total picture. We are saying, on the whole, we went wrong, and you led this so far. These two. So the total goals of the system and women's aspirations are linked, and they are linked when she clearly understands what she wants to do with the power and what is her critique of the system as such, not simply man-woman inequality. The total system that they have created, behind which these are male values. It is not simply the system is fine and you are the ruler and no, I will make it. It is not like that. Who is the ruler is one, and what the ruler did is another. These two.
Hemakshi, what do you have to say about this? Regarding awareness of women of such larger questions, because you must have been exposed to so many political leaders and aspiring women leaders. I don't think most of us have that feminist perspective on issues. We are all attuned towards patriarchal views. So, what is your view on women's understanding of issues at large?
Yeah, I think I 100% agree with that, because data shows that, like I was saying, 90% of us in the whole world are biased against a gender, which applies to politics as well. So women will ask more questions of women, questions about, if a sarpanch is a woman, what was she wearing? Why was she not smiling enough? So if you look at Google searches, women leaders, husbands or partners are more searched about. That's not the first question and searched by both men and women, right? I think that's unfortunately very deep rooted in our society. And we apply that lens or that criteria for other women as women, and we apply that criteria for ourselves as well. So with Hillary, when she was contesting, after the emails, the biggest controversy was about her smile, that she is not smiling enough. And even in India, if my counselor luckily is a woman, and I know that in my colony, people ask questions about, she can't be probably considered, she's done an excellent job, but she can't be considered to be an MLA because counselor is okay, MLA is too much for a woman to handle. So I do think these are cases which, and both men and women ask these, like, how will she manage work? We don't ask these questions of men. So I don't think there's anything, unfortunately we have to accept that, and change will be both bottom up and top down. And that's why I think my real belief is in role models. If I see a woman, and there's a study done by Rohini Pandey in Rajasthan, where girls who were living in panchayats with women sarpanches, their aspiration was much higher for themselves, because they had a role model in their proximity, so that they could see that a woman can be in a position, an active sarpanch, and not just an elected sarpanch with a sarpanch pati or a sarpanch son-in-law or father-in-law and all that. So that does make a difference, and hence I think one way of solving it is having role models, speaking about more women, listening to them, understanding them, and us as a society learning to accept that women can be amazing leaders. They do this. Acknowledge, like Sir was saying, we need to talk about those things a lot more. Like the biggest difference, I think, that AOC and Jacinda coming into power is that people are talking about kindness in politics. People are talking about feminine traits in politics. And it's happening because we have these loud, amazing women out there as role models. So we need to work on that. I think that's what I really believe. But it's a long, arduous journey to change those behaviors, mental models, and biases that we carry.
Sanjana, you want to say something?
Sir, like most of the women leaders whom we see are single. Do you think that is because they feel if we are married, it's men who is, people will think that it is men who is ruling, or because of patriarchality? I mean, why is it that women have to be single more?
I'll just add to what Sanjana said. The moment I went on some media house to give an interview, I received one comment on YouTube video, like, you activists will get divorced from your husbands. So I never understand this. You know, the first question they ask me is, will your husband allow you to talk like this? So why is this? I don't know. So, sir, like,
so do you think in this system of marriage or family, we can accommodate such values that you're talking about, such moral values of equality where both have equal roles?
Yeah, home is very, very important base for reform. Definitely. Without homes being reformed, public activity is not possible on a large scale. Home should be the beginning, and I think home also should be the end. Because finally, if you create a better system, home will also be changed. But now there is so much of break. Public action is something different from what is in the home, what kind of a role. So people who are on to public are definitely facing problems at home. So it should be changed. That's why I think, again, look at our education system. Does our education system say anything about certain home management like cooking, domestic work? No. So there is some training in terms of what women should do outside, but who is getting trained in terms of what anybody should do inside? I mean, I don't know if it is all thinking about outside only, but how about home? Homes are becoming dysfunctional. And how can man or woman, how can he or she do much out of a dysfunctional home? So let there be laboratories, let there be work in terms of cooking. Maybe because of COVID, people got to know many things, but it doesn't have to be like this. How many homes survive if the maids don't come? But thanks to COVID, many had to survive.
So, but and,
just one
is because
second.
Of women. That thank you is because of women, sir, again. I mean, maid didn't come, so women had more work.
Exactly. That's true. So what I'm saying is that, thank you for raising this question. I think this is very important. We are looking at politics, but we are not seeing for a woman to take part, what kind of a home we should have. And for such a home to be created, what is it that the boys should be taught now? And what is it that the girls should retain? Traditionally, girls were taught traditional skills and boys are not. But now girls are learning the skills of going out. But so if that has to be sustained, boys should learn what they should do at home. But do you see, education is not addressing any issue of home management. So it creates imbalance. So a successful career outside may mean dysfunctional family, and a successful family may mean not doing anything in career. Why? Because there is absence of balance. Education is not addressing the entire spectrum of life. So that is another thing about feminism. It is change, but change not taking into account all the factors. Home management is one such. Children management is one such. In all these ways, it should be part of curriculum, and men should learn. And women should continue to learn. And men, for the first time, should learn. It is like that. And probably if a better home is created, maybe not many would like to go out and run. Many are basically chased out of their homes. So it creates a better society. So holistic education should mean all these things. Education should be relevant.
So you mean
Whereas the things, just one second, the things that we discuss about gender role, we discuss gender role only in terms of very minute activities, not really about domestic organization and how the skills should be imparted. It's very important. So coming to the overall theme, it is about men learning what were traditionally being done by women. Not simply compassion and holism, but even a skill set. So a woman education minister should propose, and man who is convinced that a better system is needed can propose. So what is our education system doing about it? So how are we planning the education system to create a gender just society or a holistic society? We are not doing that. So do you know, in this process, women are often the victims. And I always notice woman doesn't really know what was the tradition and what is this modern thing and how do you balance or how do you accommodate and things like that. So it leads to conflict. For example, a working woman may want to be like her mother who was only a homemaker. So she may feel guilty that she was not like her mother to her children. So all kinds of conflicts. So we need to work out when women start working, what kind of home it will be and how will it be managed and what should be man's role in this and how much mothering is needed, what is a father's role in bringing up a child. But we are not doing anything at all. We are just thinking in terms of what man is doing and what woman can do. We are not thinking of all the interlinked institutions, which includes home and which includes education. That is why if for a woman to do something, she may have to go through much more suffering. And you may talk about how others are thinking about her, but what is more important is that what she thinks of herself. Does she think she is a good mother? So when she doesn't know what are the forces to which she is subjected, she will be confused. She may with confidence talk about the external system, but she may not be with confidence talk about her own personal life. So she won't have the clarity of what is to be a good mother, what is to be a good wife. Because all these good wife, good mother were defined according to certain old set of values when women were not working. So these are the issues. So our discussion on women's rights often is very, very narrow. So all these things should be included. Please, Sanjana.
say you said in the between that if we have a functional home, people may not want to go outside and run. You mean not running in career, or are you telling something like no,
No.
leaderless society?
No. People would like to go maybe for some time, and when they have more interesting things to do. It is not like going because of being forced. How homes are unbearable, and that is why you have to live out. Many are leading such lives. It's not just for, many families, children don't want to stay, that's why they prefer hostels. So, it's chaotic homes.
Himakshi, you
In fact,
remember?
the entire
sorry.
societies are not geared to, our society is not geared towards happiness. It's all about achievement. How much you achieve outside. Because there is nothing like achievement inside. Achievement, and also it is not all achievement oriented. Achievement that is measurement based. So any achievement which cannot be measured, like having a good family or a good son, no. Of course, if good son achieves something, that also may come under measurement system. So we are not we are not oriented towards healthy, peaceful societies. It is like that. Again, in this process also, it was woman emulating man. Man created this wrong values. That is why I am saying all should go back in different direction. Because this is a contest in the wrong direction. That is the thing I am saying. There are man-woman inequalities. How do you address this? And that is what happening. If you say somebody be kind is like cheating that person, misleading that person, and what kind of a system we are creating? Something has gone so fundamentally wrong for compassion to be a bad word. Isn't it? Because we are creating that system, we are measuring success on the basis of certain false values. So I believe this whole thing is more unfair to women. This is what I think. Because man's traditional position, man's values, his running race is less conflicting. Whereas woman's running race is more conflicting. So if a woman understands this entire game, then she will come to her own terms with that totality. If a woman doesn't understand this entire game and she wants to be focused only on one thing, then she may achieve one thing, but at the expense of many other things. This is what is happening. Please.
I was just about to mention that compassion, I don't think entirely is seen as bad, because Himakshi, do you remember conversations where Bhakti has mentioned how each and everyone in the village wants to be loved by the Sarpanch. They want to be recognized by the Sarpanch. They want to be in the know-how of the Sarpanch. But of course, the larger issue of that even Sushmita Dev has mentioned is that gendered roles is a big barrier to women's progress. Several studies have also pointed out that women come late into politics because they have to take care of family, they have to take care of children. So they enter late. Even their mobility is dependent on how close their workplace is to, their home. So, do you really agree that compassion has become a bad word in politics? Because I see it differently. Jayalalitha was rewarded for being a mother. That compassionate woman. She won so many times. So is Didi. I don't know. Is it just token? Are those names Amma and Didi just token, or is compassion really considered a bad word? What do you have to say?
No, compassion is not considered a bad word, but in a debate on man feminism, compassion can be considered a bad word. If you say that woman, you have to be compassionate, then they will say, oh, you want us to be compassionate, a man can be like this. So, like that.
I think theoretically, I don't think compassion is a bad word. Everyone will agree that yes, we should be nice to each other. Yes, we should think from a more compassionate perspective. But when it comes to actions, I think, like sir was saying, what is valued and what is measured and what is glorified is not compassion. So I don't think it's become a bad word as much as it's just not given its due recognition. Yeah, and I think it will take a few. So Amma and Didi, while they're good words to give, both of them have had to do politics in a way that is construed by men. And we know of the violence, the corruption, the rent seeking and giving that has happened in both the states with Amma as well as Didi, while good things have also happened, like under any leader. I think that's the case. So yeah, I do think it's not a bad word. But it's just not valued as much, unlike other countries like Finland, for example. It's led by currently 5% women, and they have moved even before COVID to a 4-day working week so that people can spend more time with family. They value well-being and balance family time a lot more. And so many education reforms. So Finland's Prime Minister was the first one after COVID crisis to address children, because she understood that yes, it was hard for adults, but the lockdown had different implications on children as well. So it's important to address them as well. And I haven't heard another example like that. Again, not to box it into man or a woman. So I just think it takes the social conditions in Finland to value for something like this to happen and for it to be valued. Indian society, I do think, is a little far away from here, but I think I want to talk about incremental change and transformational change or evolutionary change a little bit. I think we often think women who come into politics have to do politics the man's way, just a little bit better. They can be a little bit more feminine, they can bring a little bit more principle, a little bit more social. Rest remains the same. I do believe in this theory of critical mass, that if we have, some say it's a 3.5%, if 3.5% people behave differently, the system can transform suddenly. So we don't have to wait for 30 years for Indian society to be changed. It's just a group of people who, like the direction that sir mentioned, and I think all of us believe in, if it's a critical mass of people come together, believe in compassion, then it can suddenly be valued a lot more than it does today, whether it's exemplified by men or women.
We can end on this note, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe just building that critical mass to change politics towards the two values. Maybe politics.
But what is the percentage you mentioned? How do you know that percentage?
Research says 3.5%. So for social change to happen, 3.5% people need to behave differently for behavior to change. Other research says that it's 16.5%. It's a big jump, but the 3.5% research has been doing much more. I think has been talked about a lot more in development space. Again, the methodology, context, all of that can be debated. So at Indian School of Democracy, we are conservative and we say we will try to change the system to have 25% of, it's not 3.5, it's not 16.5. Let's create 25% leaders to be so amazing in a system that the system has no option but to change and become better.
Wow. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, sir.
Thank you,
Bye.
Sanjana. Thank you,
Thank you, Meenakshi.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night, everyone. Bye.
Good night.